One thing I notice about being a guy in this position is people just automatically get irritated with you. People automatically have some type of problem with you. Have you guys ever noticed that? Or is that just me? When you go to these different types of places, these different types of events, you can see somebody in front of you be treated a certain way. They get a smile from the girl, from the cashier. She smiles and say, "Thank you, have a good day." She does that. And then when you come, she doesn't say anything. She kind of looks at you, kind of rushes your items through, kind of looks at you like you're some type of evil monster or some devil or some evil creature from the night. And it's like, okay, maybe that's just a one-off thing. Maybe that's just, she's just having a bad day. But you just seen her right in front of your face, like treat somebody else with dignity and respect and compassion and consideration. Meanwhile, when you come up there, the the tonality flips, the energy shifts, and it shifts to a negative association and connotation, and it's brutal. And I've been going through this my whole entire life, man. Like honestly, like I've been going through this my ever since I can remember, where I'll step into a room and the energy shifts. You know, people are talking about you when they're talking, and then you come in there and then they start whispering or they get real quiet. Or if you're at work or you're at some place and you come in there, um, they're speaking English or whatever, then they switch and start speak. Excuse me, they switch and they start speaking their native tongue. So as to like cover up what they're saying about you, right? And I'm thinking to myself, these events are not random. You know, these events that we go through, they seem orchestrated, they seem planned. I know people say they don't want to complex, they don't want to make things complicated by adding in, you know, there could be some evil beings from another dimension that are targeting us. I know that sounds ridiculous, but one day we're going to pass away, and then we're going to see if these beings are real. And then, but the problem is, you can't come back to this dimension and say that person was right, that person was wrong. You can't do that, because once you're in that dimension, once your soul leaves the flesh, you're at the mercy. There's no mercy from the demiurge, but you're at the mercy of whatever goes on in that next spiritual realm. Do you really think that we're just blood, flesh, and bones? And the way the government treats us, the way they want to monitor us, they want to spy on us, they know more about humanity than what they're letting on. There's something more to us than just the flesh. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this worldwide surveillance system, and you're having everything made in a way where it's trying its best to kind of break us, and it's trying its best to make us feel low and feel small. My whole entire life, I felt low. I felt small. Let me tell you something, man. Let me be real. My entire life, bro, I've always felt like there was a lot of people that were quote unquote better than me. Better at playing football, better at rapping, better at making beats, better, 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 better. And then, when people said I was good, I was surprised. I was genuinely shocked. It's like now when people say that, hey man, you speak really well, like you know how to articulate. And it's crazy because when I was younger, my my teachers who were, very racist at the time, this is the 90s. So it wasn't like how it is now, like when they kind of try to hide it a bit. This is in the 90s, mid 90s. So it was a lot more raw then. Nowadays, the teacher is, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to even go into that. Nowadays, the teacher is just more accepting to blue pill moralities. I'll just say that. I'm trying to be, you know, talk with respect and dignity and not trying to shame anybody. But the teachers nowadays is just not the same, right? And the ones that are, you find these older teachers are sleeping with their students, and it's always a female teacher with like a young guy or something like that. And she gets about 2 years in prison or something like that. Meanwhile, if it was the other way around, that guy wouldn't even step into the prison yard without somebody making sure he's neutralized. But yeah, man, it's just even like when I was younger, like I was saying, when I was younger, like these teachers, they try to put me in a special ed speech class saying that I had a stuttering problem. And I remember then they told me, read these two sentences. And I read them perfectly. And then they said, oh, yeah, we're glad. Oh, yeah, we're glad that you were picked for this, blah, 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 blah. And I noticed that a lot of people of my skin color configuration who were actually, decent were being put in these special ed classes and were given these medications and all this type of crap. And they were convincing people's parents. But my mom said, heck no to that. Like my mom had to cuss out the teachers a few times. Like, I had one of those moms who would, she would go up to the school and cuss out the teacher, cuss out the principal, the vice principal. If there's a cop there, because some schools got police there, she'll cuss the police officer out. Like I had one of those type of moms, right? And But also, I learned from an early age that I was targeted by something. And it didn't come into fruition, and it didn't really come into my mind like that specific type of thinking until I got to like 14 or 15. Before then, I knew that I was being picked on and assaulted, but it was always ranged in a way that, oh, it's the devil attacking you, because I come from an extremely religious family. Me myself, I was a religious zealot. You know, I was somebody that you couldn't tell me that the demiurge wasn't the superior almighty being. Like, I believed in the demiurge. I worshipped Yaldabaoth. I praised Yaldabaoth. I feared Yaldabaoth. I obeyed all of Yaldabaoth's commandments, statutes, ordinances, and commandments. I was a black Hebrew Israelite, meaning that the original Hebrews looked like had my skin color configuration. You know what I mean, and all this, that, and the third. And I believe, like I believed all that, the Esau versus Jacob, and I can keep going on and on and on. The judgment day, how the God of this world, the demiurge, are going to make his new heaven, and his new heaven is going to have 12 different entrances, and each 12 different entrances is what the 12 tribes of Judah, Yeah, I learned about all that, how the 12 tribes of Judah were scattered away, and that, the people of today that say they're of the Bible are not really the true people, and this, that, and the third. Like, I know about all that, bro. And like, I know how, black Hebrew Israelites are treated in Israel. Like, I know about all that stuff. Like, I know. But the problem is this. If you look at how this God behaves and how this being behaves, you can tell that it's something that's not right. Something is off. But I digress. What I notice is when you're a person that is truly, truly a person that doesn't bother anybody, a person that you have your own mind, you have your own uniqueness, you have your own individuality, you have your own sovereignty. You're somebody that's going to be seen as a target in this world. You're somebody that's going to be seen as somebody that people want to try to pick at. And that's everywhere you go. When you get a new job, bro, you got to worry about the social anxiety first of just signing up for the job. Then they tell you you got to come to an interview. Then you go to the interview, you got to dress nice, you got to look nice, you got to find a way to get there, you got to find a way to pay people for the gas, maybe you got to Uber there, you got to do all that. Then you got to play these social games at the job, at the interview. You got to talk to polite, all this, that, and the third. Then you may have a day where you get the job, or you got another test, and maybe they won't give you the job. But if you do get the job, you got to figure out how to get to that job every single day. You do the job, you work the job, you find out that the job comes with all types of things that you didn't know. You know, it's like wanting to be famous, and they tell you you got to do some things behind the scenes that you can't tell the public about, and you can't even tell nobody else about, not even your family, not even, anybody. You can't tell nobody about this, and they make you swear, so some type of blood oath where you can't talk about the secret things you've seen, you know? And when you really take a look at this world, you take a look at this life that we so call it, you'll see that you've been through so many events and so many things that would have broke normal people. The things that you've been through in your life, normal people couldn't handle that. Normal people can't handle the isolation we face, the disrespect we face when people always come at us in a negative way. You're dealing with sickness, like right now, like most of today, bro, like, you know, I'm walking around the park just like sick, like sick. And it's like people say people get sick, right? And you have a regular cold, but when you're homeless and you're sick and you can't really find a place to really rest, it makes it very annoying, right? And when you're in a position of ec- economics, obliteration, it makes life even just more miserable, especially when we see people driving these nice cars and driving these things around, and it's like, damn, I'm sick, I can't think, I'm running a fever, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, then you see somebody else, that could be sick or going through it, and he has a girl there for him. He has this girl that can bring him chicken noodle soup, massage his head, make him feel right. Meanwhile, when you're sick or when you get something happens to you, you can be sick physically, sick in the mind, sick spiritually. You have all these demons attacking. You're going through it for real, right? You right? And so when that happens, and when you know that there's people out there that are getting the love and support that you'll never get, it makes you feel a certain type of way. I don't want to call it jealousy, because I feel like jealousy comes from just a lot of evil-hearted people. But I say that it's a noticing. It's like the great noticing. You start to notice that, hey, wait a minute. If I if I continue to be a nice guy, opening girls for females and doing this, and if something bad happens to me, there's gonna be no one there for me. But if a guy who's an asshole, who's fresh out of prison, if he gets sick, if he gets in a car accident, if things that are bad happen to him, he has somebody there to bail him out. Meanwhile, a lot of us, we don't. Who can bail us out of this situation that we find ourselves in, right? And earlier today, bro, like my tooth was hurting, my head was hurting, my nose was running, like I felt like I had to throw up, like I started seeing it got crazy. And I'm like, what the hell? And then you got to deal with, racial politics and dynamics. And I don't want to get into that, and then you got to deal with just trying to build yourself up as a man in this world. It's extremely difficult to try to build from nothing. When you don't come from nothing, when you are nothing, when you don't have anything that can propel you into financial stabilization, it's very difficult to try to make a castle out of sand. We all know what happens to sand castles. They may rise up and look beautiful for a time, then the ocean takes it away, or some little kid comes and kicks it and breaks the castle down, or whatever, or a dog comes by and urinates on it, or something like that. The castle's going to be broken down, right? And it sucks knowing that it doesn't matter how hard I try, I'll never meet the right people that can change my life, because they say you can change your life, but life doesn't work like that, bro. You're not going to be 40 years old, go back to school, and become some type of heart doctor. No, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be in your 40s and then magically write a book and become a multi-millionaire and your whole life changes forever. It's like, no, bro, life always has a double-edged sword, meaning that let's say you do become a 40 years old and you write a book and you sell a million copies like Amanda Hawking. I don't know if y'all know who that is, but she wrote a good vampire book, if I'm not mistaken. I read that book years ago, like over 10 years ago. But all of a sudden your life changes. Okay, you may get some money, you may get $1 million, then all of a sudden the IRS may hit you back for some back taxes you didn't pay, or all of a sudden your 7-year-old daughter gets a rare bone cancer or something like that. Like there's something that's going to try to mediate your happiness. Like I always felt like that about this life. It's like there's always something that's trying to keep me in my place. There's always something that's trying to keep me beneath them. It's trying to keep me underneath them. And there's always people that think they're better than me. It's crazy because I'm going through psychological issues myself. I go through real psychological issues, and it's very difficult to even make these videos, but I have to focus my mind, right? But I go through real issues. I don't have anybody really to talk to like that. And a few people that I do, it's people that I talk to on a regular, like maybe other YouTubers or maybe even bigger YouTubers or people, old associates. Some of these people are doing well in life. There's one person I talked to, he makes over $10,000 a month on YouTube ad revenue alone. $10K off of ad revenue. I'm like, damn, like that's ridiculous. He was telling me about taxes and stuff like that and how to do that in proportion to YouTube. I'm like, bro, I'm at the bottom of the ocean. Like, when it comes to that, Plus, I feel like YouTube always had a thing with black pill villain, right? YouTube always tried to stagnate my videos and stuff like that. Like my videos really took off when I started making the thought and the bot videos, when I was really just exposing female nature. That's when my videos really took off and everybody started finding out who I was. All the legends know who I am, man. I don't gotta repeat it. If you know, you know. If you was on my old channel, the legends know who I am. The Savvy Guys, the DBDRs, Tragic Reality. I can keep going on, Taylor the Fiend. Like there's a lot of people know who I am. Lonely Black Pillar. A lot of people know who I am, man. Right? But then if you look at my views on my channel, it's like, damn, it's like, okay. But I don't really care about views, bro, because this channel's not about views and all that. This channel's about me venting and talking about, the things I'm going through in my introspection and my perception of this world of this hell realm that we find ourselves in. What I noticed, a lot of us, we didn't have any strong male role models in our life. In my family in particular, we were told just believe in Jesus, just believe in Christ, just believe in the Lord, follow Jesus, follow the ways, follow the commandments of God. And if somebody does something bad to you, you turn the other cheek and you pray for them. And, just make sure you serve the government. You got to have a 9 to 5. And what's crazy is that a lot of these religious people, bro, I hear a lot of them saying that they don't like to work their 9 to 5 jobs. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't like to work their 9 to 5. They say that they're tired of working. They want to retire. I'm like, well, how come God never told you how to make a good business? How come people go to spirits like King Pyman, or Lucifuge Wolf a Cow? Huh? or Mammon, Lord Mammon? How come people go to people, the beings like that who are evil, wicked beings, but are able to give you things that are of the physical, materialistic world that are able to elevate your life? Meanwhile, you could be praying to this God for 20, 30, 40, 50, 1,000 years, and this God still doesn't do anything for you. Right? They keep saying that this person's going to come back. We're at judgment day. It's like, okay, why would a loving, let's break all this down. Let's take out the devil, take out evil. Why would a loving, caring God create this much evil and confusion in the first place? Right? They say the author of confusion is the devil, but the real author of confusion is the guy who made the devil. The person who implemented and integrated the devil's intelligence and relevance, and delegated the devil to power, delegated the devil to rule, delegated the devil to authority, and put a prioritization in negative energetic manifestation. Right? This world has a bias towards pain. Have you noticed that? This world has a bias towards going through things and going through certain situations that are designed to break you down. Nothing in this world is designed to build you up as a man. You have to bow your head down every single day at a 9 to 5 that you probably don't want to be at, but you have no choice but to be at that 9 to 5. What else are you going to do for money? Do you want to be homeless like me? Struggling, trying to make videos, trying to maintain, trying to find out a place to live, trying to find a job, trying to do this and struggling in a position. Now, a good God will see my position and bless me. A good guy will say, you suffered enough. You suffered a fucking enough. Like, it's enough. It's time for you to rap and make it. You know what I mean? Like, everybody talk crap about you. Everybody, and it's time for you to shut. It's time for you to just, it's time for you to really make them mad. I'm going to put you in a position. I'm going to have you have a hit record. You're going to have a song with Rihanna. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a hit record with Taylor Swift. Hell, a song with Beyonce. I don't care. I want the fame and the fortune, I want the money, the power, the fortune, and fame. That means I'm being hell, burning in flames, but I don't care because this life ain't a game, right? This life will change you. Do you think, like, I would have never said anything like that 20 years ago? Selling my soul to the devil for fame, fortune, and riches? You know how crazy that sounds? But when you've been through a crazy life, when you've been through a life of pain and agony, you say, fuck it. And then you're going to go to a position where you can gain some type of momentum, where you can gain some type of power. A lot of us, we've been devoured by life. A lot of us, we've been abandoned by those who said they loved us, but they didn't. A lot of us never had a woman actually look us in our eyes and say, I love you. A lot of us have never woken up and there was a woman next to us in bed, or she gets up and uses the bathroom. You can still feel her warm spot, like where her body was laying for hours. You're like, wow, it's warm. Most of us, like, when we wake up, it ain't nothing but a fleshlight, or a dirty napkin on the floor. Let's be real. Come on, are we being real or what? Huh? You telling me late at night you don't watch adult explicit material and wank off? Yeah, right. Every man does it. I'm not saying do it every day, but I'm saying every man gets that feeling. You get that, you get that little itch inside of you. You get that feeling that you need some, you need some female attention. Let's just put it that way. And you're going to get that some way, somehow. There's a reason why adult explicit material was popular, right? And it's crazy because even with that material, you still feel empty inside. You still feel lonely inside. You still feel like there's something inside of you that feels like it's not like you don't feel complete without having a girl in your life, man. That's the best way I can. Like, you don't feel confident. Like, when I walk into a room full of men that are married, men that are taller than me, men that actually drive, nice cars, they got successful businesses. Like, when you put me in a room full of men like that, I feel inferior. I feel like I can't compare because I can't. First of all, they're physically taller than me. They have man lives, meaning that they work, jobs, or they own businesses. They have a lot of money. They own homes. They own this. They have this. They have, like, they're popping. They're financially stable. And I'm a guy that's not financially stable. I have psychological issues. I have eternal issues. I hear voices in my head. I see demons from the corner of my eye from time to time, like something's watching me. And when I tell people this, they think I'm out of my mind. That's why I don't tell nobody. That's why I shut my mouth and keep it quiet, because when you tell people things like this, they really think you're crazy. If I try to tell the government, hey, I need some government assistance, I'm hearing voices in my head, I'm seeing demons in the corner of my eye, do you think they're like, oh, okay, well, here's some government assistance, No. They're going to make it, they're going to try. It's like pulling teeth for them to try to pay you when you have one of your citizens, that is going through a psychological crisis because of how the world is designed. A lot of us, bro, we're not lazy. We're not really losers. If you take me and put me into the world, put me into a world where your hard work matters, and if you've been rapping for 20 years and you're talented, you can have a fan base and be a millionaire, then I'll be up there with Jay-Z and Kanye West. I said it. I said it. I believed in my dreams and my missions, and I believed in myself when I was younger. I just had to deal with the demiurge, the scourge of existence. A being that wants to purge all of my happiness, a being that wants to see me devastated and destroyed and trapped into this eternal infernal void, a being that cannot stand me at all. What's the purpose of this worthless life if we can't really do the things that we really want to do in this world? If we can't really just enjoy life and be happy and smile, and I'm under so much stress, and I've been under so much stress for a long time. Even before my grandmother passed away, like I'll tell you, like a good month before my grandmother passed away, when everything was kind of quote unquote normal, right? I was finally getting, slowly but surely getting the confidence. I was going to roll back into school, right? And I was going to double down and find me a 9 to 5. My goal was to, maybe in another year or two, go to school and, like, maybe meet with normies. But this is way before I was even, like, this was like a year or two before I was Black Pill Villain, really, like a good year. And I was thinking about going to school. Maybe I'll get lucky and meet a girl, and maybe, we'll start talking and flirting. We go out to eat, and then, and then, maybe we get to be alone, and then we get to do the do, and I gain confidence by meeting friends. I heard me rap, and maybe I meet somebody with a studio, and then I work this job on the side, and then I'll try to get my own apartment. Maybe somebody who makes beats want to get an apartment with me. Then we rent an apartment. I was thinking all this positive stuff. The next thing you know, my grandmother had a stroke, and then everything just went downhill from there, and I just lost hope, man. It's just, and there's nobody that cares. Like right now, people will tell me, okay, man, what you need to do now is work at Amazon, or go to Lowe's, or go here, or go there, and find a job here. And it's like, I get what you're saying, and I understand it, but people really don't take in the psychological ramifications of being in isolation and devastation for such a long long, prolonged time. Go into any of these regular 9 to 5s that are just going to make you want to jump off a roof, or jump inside the ocean, or jump out of an airplane or something like that, or jump onto a train track, or go to Skinwalker Ranch or Port Chatham, Alaska. All these things that make you go crazy and lose your mind. And it's like when you go to a 9 to 5 like that, where it's constant pressure, constant, it just feels like servitude. You either have one or two choices. Accept your fate and say, hey, I'll never be nobody and great. I'm just going to do this, do what I have to, and just be abused mentally, physically, verbally every day. And I'm just going to lose myself. And then you're going to lose the motivation to even want to make videos, or even want to do anything. You don't want to make no videos. You don't want to rap. You don't want to do beats. You're just going to exist, to wake up and go to Amazon every day. A lot of people don't have that extra strength and that resilience and persistence and tenacity and veracity to actually go through a 9 to 5 they despise, and then come home and then put their whole heart and soul into what they really want to pop off. And when people, even if people do that, it still doesn't guarantee success. You can go your whole entire life, doing the right thing and working hard and all that, and then somebody can just go to prison and then meet a billionaire, Jeremy Meeks, or somebody can become a rapper. As soon as they leave prison, they meet the right people, and then the right people help them, put money behind them. Next thing you know, they're a famous rapper, right? Meanwhile, somebody been rapping for 20 plus years, trying their best to get somebody to listen to them, and then nobody does. Nobody cares. Nobody gives them a chance. Nobody gives them a chance to really showcase their skills, talents, and attributes. So how are you supposed to be in a position of power, wealth, and influence if nobody of power, wealth, and influence will let you even into the realm of power, wealth, and influence? You think you and the McDonald's workers that we all have to work around, or we're gonna put together our McDonald's paychecks and try to make a music business? Come on. Right? People, like, first of all, we live in a society now where you can have somebody who's not even famous, like somebody that's not famous like Tom Cruise, but yet they have a whole online internet persona. They have people online who know who they are, and these people are able to make millions of dollars from inside of their room. Now, you remember people like us who got talked about for being inside of our room. Oh, why is he always in the room all the time? Why is he always doing this? Why I'm in the room because I'm trying not to go crazy because I've been through a lot of traumatic situations in my life and I'm trying not to hurt nobody and go to prison for the rest of my life. That's why I'm in my room secluded because I know that if I'm trying my best not to hurt anybody or harm anybody. I'm trying to isolate myself. Because I understand the anger that I have is not normal and it's not natural and it's years of pent up frustration and events. And if I release this on somebody, I'll just stop right there. It's just not a good thing when you have somebody that's already emotionally scarred, that's been dealing with traumatic events, and then you put them in another traumatic event around a bunch of strangers. Like I really need to get some type of government assistance, right? And the government should give us some damn assistance. You know what I mean? Like, right? Guys in our position who've been through psychological and mental hell, you gotta do one or two things. You gotta do a few things. Either allow us to live our dreams, allow me to be successful, throw us in the military, or, let us become nomads or something else. I just say that. Because you have a lot of young men that are struggling now, struggling mentally, struggling physically, struggling emotionally. We're not a happy type of society as people want to try to pretend, right? This society is just it's stupid. It's like who in their right mind would want to choose to live in a place like this? Like who in their right mind would want to live here, where people that you love can pass away and you will never see them again? Where that girl that you really want that made your heart jitter, she doesn't want nothing to do with you. You know how many times I've seen beautiful women and I got happy and excited just for them to frown at me and roll their eyes at me or look at me like I was just a bug that they stepped on? It hurts. It breaks your spirit. It breaks your confidence. And it's one of those things where you think about for a long time. What could I have done differently? I wish I had a time travel machine and I would go back in time and I would see like different paths in my life. You know how you play RPGs and they show you like different branching paths or whatever? I want to have that. Like, I wish I could go back in time and have that. And I would just try to make all the decisions that would lead to success, wealth, power, independence, and influence. Being a nobody or being somebody that doesn't really have that much wealth, power, and influence, it does something to your mind when you live in a world and you live in a generation where everybody's having, wealth and influence, or it seems that way online, right? You see guys who are like 21 years old with a mansion, Bentley, Ferraris, yeah. And it's like, how did you get that? And how did I not get that? And not in the way where I'm jealous because you have it and I don't know. If I was talentless, I wouldn't even care. The fact that I have a talent that I can't really use to make myself wealthy is what hurts, right? A lot of us, we have talents and hidden attributes, but we need to be around the right people that can bring it out and make us fully successful and efficient and proficient in the things that we do and the things that we undertake and undermined. But a lot of us, man, we get undermined by our family, undermined by the people around us, undermined by our own emotional fluctuations and frequencies. This world is not what it seems, man. That's all I gotta say. This world is not what it's cracked up to be, man. It's there's something off about existence. It's something that's not right about this, man, and it burns you out after a while, honestly. Honestly, after going through so many events that trigger negative emotions and negative things, it really just, it makes you just want to give up on existence. It makes you want to give up on just trying anymore because you're like, what's the point? You'll never get to a point where you're as rich as David Dobrik. You will never be in that point where you're making millions upon millions of dollars, making YouTube videos or making this. Like the only way that would happen, it would take somebody like the only way that it would take somebody like somebody that's a bigger YouTuber to put you on and say, hey, everybody subscribe to him, everybody look at his channel, blah blah blah, show him some love, blah 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 blah. I used to do that all the time when I was Black Pillville. How many of you guys remember those videos I used to make? I used to find like obscure Black Pill channels, but channels that I like, and I would put them on. Like at the time I had maybe a few thousand subscribers. I'm like, yeah, I got a few thousand subscribers. I got a little clout, I guess. I guess I can help people, who make good content that I like. And I'll tell people to go, I'll have like 20, 30-minute videos or whatever. and I would have different channels of saying subscribe to this person, subscribe to this person's cool, this person's cool, subscribe to them, because I'm not somebody that's selfish. I don't want to. I want people to only listen to me. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, who even thinks like that? This channel's for me venting. I still treat this channel as if I have 20 or 10 subscribers. Now I have to be a lot more careful because of but besides that, I have to I don't look at it as I'm some big YouTuber. Are you crazy? Like, I'm just me. I'm just a regular guy going through irregular events in life, and I'm just trying to make my way and see the light, man. That's it.